I believe that manga is the most powerful, multidisciplinary art form because it is capable of simultaneously expressing the four fundamentals as well as art and storytelling. Hey guys, welcome to Clash of Comics with Zach again. Thanks for coming out to my next video. I know I haven't posted in a while, but that's on me. But I'm trying to balance work in this, so hang in there with me, and I'm sure we'll be fine. Thanks for coming out. But basically, what I'm going to talk about today is Hirohiko Araki's book, Manga in Theory and Practice: The Craft of Creating Manga. And I'm going to be talking about today some of the things that he speaks on in that book. I'm going to go over two of the fundamentals that he speaks on, which include themes, character, story, and setting. Today I'll be focusing on characters and setting because those are the things that really shine, I think, for Araki. I'm also going to discuss his art and how he developed his style later in the video, so keep an eye out for that. But thanks again for coming out, and let's get started. One of the things that Araki details in his book, Manga Theory and Practice and the Craft of Creating Manga, is he talks about a character history, and he talks about how he made a sheet, essentially like a resume sheet that has everything from their age, sex, height, all the way to their education, personality, habits, and hobbies. Araki also does a lot of music references in his manga. Araki for a while now has been naming his stands after either a artist, song, or an album, and he seems to use the album or song and incorporate that into the character stand and how it's used. For example, Giornio's stand is named The Gold Experience, which is a album by Prince, rest in power by the way. But on that album there's two songs lyrics that particularly always seem to be a reference to Giornio by Araki. On the last song of the album named Gold, there's a lyric that says, "Everybody wants to sell what they've been sold. Everybody wants to tell what's already been told. What's the use of money if you ain't gonna break the mold?" I think this is a direct reference to Giornio and how he sees his journey and goal going forward. A lot of his motivations seem to be reminiscent of these lyrics, and I think Araki took it directly into account while crafting his stand. And I think this is also a direct reference that Araki used basically to come up with Giornio's abilities. If you don't know, he has one of the most broken stands in the series. Honestly, he can manipulate life and create life out of inanimate objects, which is super useful. And on the 8th song of the album, called Dolphin, it seems to be where he pulled that idea from. And it says, "If I came back as a dolphin, would you listen to me then? Would you let me be your friend? Would you let me in? I'll die before I let you tell me how to swim, and I'll come back again as a dolphin." And that seems to be Araki coming up with that, saying, what if I had a protagonist that create life, basically. The line where he says he'll die before he'll let somebody tell him how to swim also seems very reminiscent of Giornio, because he did things his own way and he didn't allow other people to manipulate him or control him because he was stronger than everybody else. And I think Araki seems to use the music and listen to it and put his heart and soul into that, and that's how he creates the characters that he can, and that's why they leave such a lasting impression on. Araki says that setting is one of the fundamentals to making manga. He says a setting is an alternate reality and such it should be grounded in realism. If you create a world haphazardly, the readers won't achieve immersion and more than likely will lose interest even if the world is fanciful. I think Araki has been able to create a world that is fanciful and is dynamic and makes it feel like it's its own type of world as opposed to our world, while always keeping a sense of realism. He's really mastered that skill. Along with crafting your verse, the setting itself is important. He details in the book, you may be able to get much of what you need by searching online, but sometimes you have to go do the research in person. He says this is the key to finding inspirations for your drawings and story. For example, when researching for Steel Ball Run, a story that takes place across America, Araki split his trip there into 3 sections, from the west coast to the deserts, from the Great Plains to the Mississippi River and Chicago, and the finish line in New York. Each region possesses its own culture and is home to different types of people. His visit also helped Araki understand the sheer scale of the Midwest. It is impossible to understand the feeling of scale in the Midwestern US, where scenery stretches on forever and unchanging. It's mostly devoid of ups and downs. Rather than inspiring thoughts of enjoying nature, it felt empty and lifeless, and I wonder if it was any fun living there at all. A kind of atmosphere hung over those places that felt rich for suspense, and this was something that brings depth to your setting, and by extension your manga. And I think he used that a lot in Steel Ball Run. A lot of it felt like an old western, and reading one and seeing these suspenseful moments and fights played out with stands. It was just an interesting twist, I think. Araki really was in his bag when he was working on Steel Ball Run. Now, going into Araki's art, as far as his art goes, it's actually my favorite in manga, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I think the biggest one is that Araki manages to keep his art fresh and unique. It's something that you don't see in other manga, I think, and there's some that have started to take the route that he has, but it's just not the same. And I think Araki's manga will always be something that is recognizable as soon as you walk up. And he talks about that in his book, actually, and he says, popular manga are the ones that can be recognized from 15, maybe 30 feet away, and I think that's so-and-so's manga. Araki's art has always been unique, and you can always recognize it right away. He speaks on where he developed his style, and that was actually on a trip to Italy. He says, if I was to sum up what makes my art distinctive into one single word, it would probably be posing of figures, and that is something I acquired on that trip. I happened to go to the Galleria of Borghese in Rome, where I saw Bernini's famous sculpture Apollo and Daphne, and thought, I wish I could draw this in a manga, and thus my style was born. He even said, after developing his style, he hardly received criticism from editors regarding his art. Araki's art is actually my favorite in manga, and I don't think he's necessarily the best as far as technical best art skill goes, but he always manages to keep my attention, and that's something I'll always appreciate in a comic book style story, because it does help keep the story moving along, as a novel needs its words and descriptive phrases to keep your attention. A manga or comic definitely needs the look and everything that you take in while you're going about the manga. And for me, a lot of what Araki does is very reminiscent of Renaissance art, and to me that's a really cool style to emulate, especially in a manga like this, and in a style in the way he does it, along with other references to pop culture. It's just, as a full package, to me, Araki is the most creative mangaka that we have, and he's been doing it for well over 40 years, and it's so inspiring to see. And that's going to pretty much do it for me today. Thanks again for coming out and listening to me rant about Araki. I know he's a lot of people's favorite, but to me he really does mean a lot, so I just wanted to make a video about him. Once again, I'm just going to ask, go ahead and like and subscribe, and then follow me on Twitter at WallysR34, WALLYSR34, and then in the description is going to be the Discord. Go ahead and join that. I'll be in there reading comic books occasionally. If you want to meet up, you definitely can hit me up on Twitter or Discord, and I'll be there. And other than that, thanks for coming out, you guys. This is Zach with Classic Comics. Have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Love y'all. Bye.